If you're watching this, you're probably what I call a fast brain leader. You're a fast brain, which means you have ADHD or something similar. It's like a Ferrari brain with bicycle brakes. And you're a leader. Maybe you're running a company, maybe you're a C-level exec, maybe you're another manager or other leader, or maybe you're an individual contributor leader like a product manager. And you're probably struggling because of the gap between potential and strengths and reality and weaknesses. Hi, I'm Richard Russell, and well, same here. This gap that we struggle with is really common because most people tend to have a relatively stable skills or strengths profile, if you like. If they're strong at one thing, like thinking or mathematics or whatever, they're probably reasonably strong at other things as well. And if they're really weak, they're really weak. And if they're strong at everything, they're strong at everything. They have variations, but the variations are just less dramatic than ours. What we tend to have is these absolutely stellar strengths. And if you look at where you've got to in your life, and you really look actually really where you got to in life, in your career, you've done really well. Otherwise, you wouldn't be a leader. You wouldn't be in the position you're in, right? You've done really well, even compared to people who are neurotypical, who don't have ADHD or don't have this fast brain, because your strengths are incredible. Because when other people look at you and think, wow, how did you do that? You're just really fast, or whatever it is that you're doing, you're really creative. Whatever it is that goes on, you're able to hyper-focus on the right things sometimes, and you get things done. At the same time, you also have those situations where you just can't get started on the thing you want to do, or you have a whole day where it's just not working. Perhaps you can't. I sometimes struggle. I certainly struggle with project managing and writing documents. These are things that I can do. I can do the thinking, but I can't do the doing, and it just doesn't seem to work. And so often these things really hold us back. We set our expectations along our stellar strengths, and then the reality hits in, and we really struggle to deliver on some of these expectations. And this might be disappointing other people. It might be just disappointing ourselves. It might be the frustration of like, if only I could get myself together, I'll be fine. And what's even more frustrating about this is that those weaknesses tend to be the easy things. Other people find them easy. Like they're always a bit hard. They're always a bit of effort for everybody. Like no one likes doing project. Well, maybe some people like project managing. I don't know. Most people I know don't love the act of managing a project, but it's a bit of hard work. But I mean, most people, it's just a thing. Their brain runs on importance, so they decide it's important and they go and do it. For us, our brain runs on interest, so we decide it's important, but then our brain wants to do something else and resists doing that because we find it boring, partly because it's easy. So these things that other people find really hard, we find easy because of our strengths, and what other people find easy, we find really hard because, well, our brain just doesn't work like that. So this gap really frustrates us, and it holds us back. And when I was diagnosed with ADHD 2 years ago, I went down the rabbit hole. I did all the research. I read all the books. I did as much as I could. I got a coach. She helped me in amazing ways. Really fantastic. But what I learned is that there's things that we can do that help us with this. And, we know about these things. These things that we do, there's lots and lots and lots and lots of advice out there. But it's all pretty consistent. Like it's not like there's this unique special way that if only you do this one thing, magic happens. It's all pretty basic. And realistically, if you've been around ADHD for a while, you've been looking into it, you'll know most of the things as well. But what I found is that it's all kind of scattered and hard to understand, hard to put together. So I'm a visual thinker, and I put it together into a nice little visual model that I find helpful for navigating what to do. And I'm not very good at drawing, and I tried to draw this repeatedly and film this video with drawing on a piece of paper, which I would love to be able to do, but I just can't do it well. So I put it into a presentation with some triangles and arcy, circly shapes on it. So this is what we want. This is where we are. In that triangle is our dream, is what we want in our life, right? We want to be a fast brain leader. We want to be able to do things that are capable of, right? We want to be able to use our brain the way it works, how it is to be successful as leaders. Now, this might mean different things for different people. Why is this not working? Here we go. Okay, for some reason it's not working. Okay. It might mean different things for different people, but for me it means being focused, consistent, and in control, at least in the work environment. Now, in other environments, there might be other things you care about, such as your fulfillment, or even your work. You care about fulfillment and joy and other things as well. But just thinking really strategically and tactically about, just thinking really tactically about what we want in our work environment, being focused, consistent, and in control is a pretty good start for being a leader. Now, the areas that I think about this, that I put these things into, are basically energy, action, and direction. You can think about this as capacity, tactics and strategy, if you like. You can also think about this from a dopamine perspective. Energy is about like making sure you have access to the dopamine in your brain. There's a lot of dopamine. You have better dopamine situation. Action is about using your dopamine to get things done. Like whatever dopamine's there, being able to apply it. And direction is really about making sure that you're in a place and you're going towards a direction where it suits how your dopamine works in your life. Right? That strategy, that's going to a place that's successful, where you can win. And what happens with energy is that we tend to have this problem. We have problems that hold us back, and the problem that I characterize this as is brain fuzz. You know, that moment where you get distracted. There's lots of chatter in your brain. You're feeling fuzzy. You can't focus on things. It's the opposite of hyperfocus, right? But it's that situation where it's really hard to get things done, and you can feel like you're running on about 50%. That's brain fuzz. When it comes to taking action, even when you're clear-brained, you can get stuck. And you get stuck doing things, you get stuck starting, you get stuck finishing, you get stuck organizing something or breaking things down into tasks or prioritizing, whatever it is. You just get stuck on doing things, and that holds you back. And you can feel like a square peg in a round hole, square peg syndrome, I like to call it, which is basically that feeling of like, I'm doing something, I'm doing things, I'm kind of using some of my strengths, otherwise I wouldn't be where I am, but I'm just spending a lot of time in my weaknesses, and I don't quite fit here, and I don't know why I don't fit. And we often blame ourselves and feel like there's something wrong with us, right? But we're just in the wrong place. Now, these things, what's critical about these things is that when you have brain fuzz, it makes you get stuck more. And when you get stuck more, it makes you really notice how badly you fit your current situation, how badly that lack of fit, you feel more of a misfit. And when you feel like that and you feel like you're not in the right place, you get more brain fuzz. So this is a negative spiral. And given the way our brains work with lots of emotions, lots of intense emotions, hyperfocus, and intense creativity, those three things add together, and we have this cycle of going through around this where we have a weakness, we dwell on our weaknesses, we hyperfocus on it, we catastrophize, we connect the dots, and we have strong emotions because of this weakness. Especially weaknesses tend to give us strong negative emotions. And we hyperfocus on this, and we come into a negative spiral, and it gets very negative very fast. And this is what causes ADHD burnout. It's also what causes, if you don't burn out, you tend to flame out. You tend to just sort of not succeed in doing what you're trying to do because you just can't get things done. But both of these things are a problem, and it gets worse the more time you spend in this space. What we want instead is the opposite of these things. Instead of brain fuzz, we want to feel energized every day. We want good mood, we want good focus, and we want good energy every day, right? We want to be able to wake up feeling like we're ready for the day. Instead of getting stuck, we want action on demand. We want to be able to decide, this is what we want to do, and let's go and do it. And the reality is that usually we can look at things, any set of actions, anything we have to do, and it's not that hard to agree with everybody else on what's important, why it's important, what needs to be done, how to do it, when to do it, what good looks like. All those things we're pretty good at, to be fair. Like, it's not always easy, but we're pretty good at it. The hard part is doing the action. And what we need is to be able to do the action that lines up with what we believe about what's important. And instead of feeling like a square peg in a round hole, what we want is life brain fit. This is like product market fit in the startup world. You want a life that really fits how your brain works. You want to be in a position where you're using your strengths much more often. Okay, that's great, Richard. But actually, before we do, that same thing that causes the negative spiral, if you get onto the positive spiral here, the positive loop, is a really powerful positive loop, and it creates a lot of momentum. That's why I call this the Fast Brain Flywheel, by the way, because you can create momentum by going around this circle here. And those characteristics accelerate that momentum, and then you can be really powerful. You can be an unstoppable, powerhouse if you can get onto this right track here. So that's great, Richard. How do we do this? Like, what do we do? Well, here's where the magic is, and the magic is not magic, because the magic is the same as what everyone else says, but I've structured it into 3 simple things that we need to work on in each of these areas with a catchy name that we can just get our heads around. So, to be energized every day, one of the things you need to do is sleep like a weapon. One of the things that happens with ADHD is we tend to sleep badly because our minds keep going, working on something, and we tend to be unable to sleep, and that makes our sleep worse than other people, and we need more sleep or we need better sleep rather. But it's really critical for us. Rather, we're very sensitive to lack of sleep. Lack of sleep really affects our dopamine levels, and that creates a lot of brain fuzz. The second thing here is move like you mean it. And what I mean by that is Exercise is good for everybody, but for us, it's critical. If we exercise, it generates dopamine. It helps us feel good. It helps the dopamine in our brain. It increases the baseline and it increases it immediately. So then you're able to focus more. It's part of just how exercise works. And so exercise is super important for us. And some of us exercise a lot because we've got that hyperactivity. And some of us don't for various reasons that are quite associated with our ADHD. So this is a really critical area. The third thing is eat like it matters. And that's because it matters. Again, with ADHD, we tend to have dopamine-seeking behavior, and we tend to seek out caffeine, we tend to seek out sugary foods and simple carbohydrates. We tend to seek out other substances like alcohol or whatever else gives us dopamine hits. I mean, this is the way substance abuse works. It creates dopamine in the brain. But what we find is that when we do those things, we feel good, and often we can actually focus because we have a sugar rush, but then we have a crash, and we tend to affect ourselves longer term over this. And if we eat and consume foods in a way that's really conducive to creating the right dopamine in our brain and maintaining that, then we can actually increase our baseline of energy. Really powerful stuff. Okay, let's move on. We're talking about action, getting stuck to action on demand. Again, there are three areas that I think are really important. First thing is rhythms that run you. These are your daily routines, the things that you do when you wake up, your weekly routines, when you go to bed, how you do the regular things. And one of the things that happens to us when we get stuck is that we can't start an action sometimes. We don't know what to do. We get distracted by what to do. So if we remove some of those decisions, we can get into situations where there's just a pattern of things that we do, and we do them every day, and it works. And that sets us up for the day. It's really good. So for me, I've certainly found some of this to be really powerful in my life, not only in terms of like just making my mornings work better, and in fact, this associates back to exercise as well, but in terms of like how I plan my day. All right, the next thing is get stuff done systems, right? This is where there's so much stuff on the internet. I think I mentioned earlier on about the productivity gurus talking about stuff on the internet. Some of this stuff works for us really well, some of it doesn't, and some of it works for me but won't work for you, or vice versa. And the trick here is not finding the perfect system, but finding the systems that work for you right now, and then understanding what's really going on so that you know when it stops working, what do I do about it, right? But you need to have systems that get things done. Most of this is really about taking that executive function, or the prioritization, the planning, the action initiation, and getting it out of your head so that there's a mechanism out there, just like we do with teams, like we have team structures and team, task managers and stuff like that, project managers for teams. We need that for our own brains because our executive function doesn't always work as well as it should, or as well as we'd like it to, let's say. The third thing we need to want to do is engineer your environment, engineer how our environment is. This is our digital environment and our physical environment, making it so that there's fewer distractions around. And there's a bunch of things we can do here that mean that we're in a better position to be able to do good work just because of the changes to our environment. So if you're finding your office or your house is a source of distractions, this might be a thing that we can do. In order to help get from square peg syndrome to life brain fit, again, there are three main areas to work on. First thing, own your strengths. This means really understanding where your strengths are. Where does your energy actually come from on a day-to-day basis? Which things energize you and which things drain you? And funny enough, especially if you've grown up and you've gone through university and school and early career and late career and you've been rewarded for things, sometimes the things that you feel like are your strengths actually sap your energy, and you need to actually change how you think about yourself. I certainly found that. I found that I have some strengths that I'm good at, but they drain my energy badly, whereas there are other things that I'm also really strengths of mine that give me energy. And understanding that was really powerful for me, partly because of the other two things that happen here. The first thing is design your workflow. Design how you work every day. How can you adapt your day, the things you do every day within your current role, within your current positions and everything that's going on, in order to fit your brain better. This may mean reallocating tasks. It may mean just choosing to do things in a different way, right? So that it works for you better, so that you're much more, you're at your best a lot more. The final thing here is to invent your future. And this is really about taking a stock of like what my strengths and weaknesses are, where my energy really comes from, and how do I craft the right kind of role for me such that in the future I'll be even more capable and even more successful, right? Such that I'm at my best more of the time, such that I'm able to be focused, consistent, and in control in that particular role or environment that I'm setting up. So all these things, again, as I say, all of this is not unique. There's nothing, I haven't invented anything here. We're just putting it together into a system that I think helps to navigate what's going on in our lives and helps us understand how do we actually make a difference to our lives? How do we improve? Where do we need to focus? We might find, for example, for me, I certainly found that movement, exercise, moving like I mean it, was something that was critical for me, and rhythms and changing my my day-to-day was important, and engineering my environment was important. The systems, some of them have been really helpful, some less helpful. Again, for me, owning my strengths, really understanding that has changed my life dramatically, and I'd love this to be something that's true for you too. So earlier on in this video, I said that there are two challenges here. One of the challenges is understanding just the landscape of like what we need to do. I hope this model helps you to understand what you need to do, and you can look at these things and say, well, this is an area where I need to focus on, and that helps you sort of navigate where to focus. We tend, by the way, to get tempted to focus on systems and miss the rest of it, right? But so this is helpful for sort of just getting a more holistic view. But the second thing that's really profound for people with ADHD is that we can know what to do, we can know how to do it. None of this stuff's complicated, by the way. All this stuff's really simple. But we can know everything in our heads. It's very easy to hyper-focus on this, especially when it affects you. You hyper-focus on it. You understand all the things to do. But the challenge is actually doing it. How do you actually put this into practice? What is it about the way I'm thinking that is sabotaging my ability to do these things? And this is where the coaching comes in. So if you'd like help with any of this stuff, if you'd like help navigating this and understanding what to do about your particular situation, or if you'd like help actually making yourself do the things, like going from knowing what to do to doing the things to do, such that you get from that red negative spiral to the green positive spiral, maybe we should talk. I'm a coach. I have worked at Google. I've worked at Amazon as a leader. I've managed a team of 100 people with massive P&L. I've burnt out a couple of times. I've had successes. I've done all sorts of things. I've had the strengths and weaknesses. I've been a consultant for startups, for executives of startups, Series A through D and E, I think even. And I've worked with big corporates as well, like Fortune 500 companies. So I've been in a lot of the positions that are similar to where you are, and I've worked with a lot of people who are in positions just like you. And I'm certainly finding that thinking about my ADHD like this and getting help from my community and from my coach has really helped to make a dramatic difference to me. And I'd love to help you. So if you're interested in this, if you want to contact me, there'll be a way of contacting me down the bottom there. Just send me a message or whatever it is, we can have a chat. And I'd love to talk about how we can work together. There's a number of different ways. So let's have a conversation and see what would suit you, what would help you. In the meantime, have a great week and focus well. Take care.